Hey folks, welcome into the Bleacher Nation Cubs podcast. I am Brett Taylor. That is Michael Cerami. We are here thanks to our sponsors at Ankin Law, 3126 million, Injury Law, Made Personal, Howard and Crew. Thank you kindly. We are here for you on 4th of July Eve, which isn't a thing, but I guess it could be. It could be like when Santa brings all the fireworks and red, white, and blue cake and all that stuff. Are you gonna?
I'll tell you what. It probably is on a Thursday. When it's a Thursday, it's Eve because people are off tomorrow before the week. People are off. They're done.
Most people are off.
Well, yeah.
I'll still be there for you tomorrow morning, folks.
Yeah.
So be safe out there, folks. If you are listening to this in advance of 4th of July, remember fireworks are to be placed on the ground and then lit and not held in your hands and fired off from there, no matter how cool it may look to hold Roman candles and fire them off from your hands. It's just a bad idea. Don't recommend it.
My dad's best friend
also make sure
lost 1.5 fingers when they were like 17. Couldn't find. The doctor said, "Go back and look for the finger." They couldn't find it.
They don't grow back, and they don't grow back unless you lose them. As an aside, I heard this on a podcast, and it was a medical one, so it's true.
So it's probably
if you lose a small enough digit, okay, at a young enough age, your body's still in a certain phase of the growth period. So you have to be, I'm talking like 1 year old. Okay. And if you lose like the tip of a pinky, you gotta,
I have a baby. I could go test this.
Yeah. You could. God, it's dark. That is dark. Make sure you tell the wife about that one. Apparently it can grow back. Like that's okay. A real thing. I suppose we haven't heard about it because it is very dark to even contemplate.
Welcome to our baseball podcast.
Baseball podcast, fireworks and appendage regrowth. Okay, so let's talk Cubs now. I was trying to think if I had like a firework segue. I mean, the Cubs did win a couple games this week against the Guardians. They've got the finale tonight as we record today. I would say those wins were solid, not entirely contemplative of fireworks or excitement or drama, which is fine. It was coming off a weekend series where the Cubs lost in Houston 2 out of 3. And then, of course, that split in St. Louis the week before. So, we can take the broad lens look if you want and note that this is a period of time where I think most Cubs fans would say that it has felt like a down period for the Cubs. And yet, if you really go back 2 or 3 weeks, whatever the chunk you want to grab, at worst, it's like a 500 stretch. Okay. Yeah. I mean, that not only does that happen in every season, that's you have much worse stretches than that in every season. And so I don't know, my feeling about it is almost, okay, they lost the series in Houston against an incredibly good Astros team that is particularly good in Houston, split against the Cardinals in a way that made it feel a lot better than a split and whatever. And then they've already taken the series from the Guardians. So all is good and fine in terms of the macro of where we are in the season.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're sort of right. I think like I felt the most down after those first 2 Cardinals losses because that was when the Brewers were encroaching. The Cardinals were, then it was like, oh my God, they can get within a half game if they sweep us. Then they won those 2 games and it was kind of like, oh yeah, we're good. Don't worry about it. And then the Astros series, when they lost it, they had a chance to win it then. And so that loss kind of felt like let's say like you're underwater and you come up for a little breath and you feel like you're about to take a big breath, but then you go right back under for a second. And it was like, oh, I'm fine. But I was expecting a greater relief, which didn't happen. Sure. And then beating the Guardians with Boyd and Shota, and the Guardians are terrible against lefties and we're at Wrigley after an off day. Like it kind of was like, yeah, they really should have won those 2 games, or at least probabilistically those games were tilted in their favor. Now listen, if Cade Horton goes out today and absolutely shoves and puts that last start behind him, which wasn't very good, and the Cubs sweep the Guardians, okay, like we got a little bit of mojo and the Cardinals are back in town. So we could do it, but I don't think I've like fully gotten the taste out of my mouth of the sort of 500 stretch. And I will add only that the standings, what was concerning to folks, or what was like frustrating, was there was a minute there where the lead in the NL Central was so vast. I think it was 6.5 games.
Sure. 6.5, I think it stretched to.
That's the only thing. It was like, we just got to worry about getting the first or second seed. We're not going to even have to think about the Cardinals or Brewers. And then it was like, I got to think about them again, which is, of course, like, it was ridiculous to say that or to even think that so early. But when you build up a lead like that and you're playing that well and Shota's about to come back, it was like, okay, maybe we'll just have one of those like dominant years where it's not stressful until October, but it might not be that.
Yeah, and to add to that, so we now have had back-to-back seasons at a minimum, right? Where from June through the end of the year, it felt like the season hung on every single game.
Yeah.
And of course, we watch and absorb games. Of course, Michael and I wear two hats because we're fans, but we also cover the team. But like, speaking only to the fan component, we like excitement. We like drama. There's a payoff for it potentially, right? But as you're experiencing it, it's tense. It's like the day-to-day is sort of like, maybe we live in it more than most fans, but it exacts a cost to sort of feel like that night's game could be it. And of course, mathematically, it ended up basically playing out that way the last two seasons, where virtually every game did end up being it.
Yeah, that sucked.
and we got a taste of what it was like for at least the 2016 team, but it was largely true in 2017 as well, where, because the Cubs had built such a buffer by midseason or a little bit thereafter, the way you take in individual games is a different kind of enjoyable. Like, you don't have the same like intensity to them, because if they lose, okay, it's not going to really likely affect the division. But you can just sort of enjoy the good stuff in a game. And if they win, it's like, oh, cool, man, a lot of good stuff happened. If they lose, you can be like, well, it's easy to take because this good stuff happened, or, oh, whatever, throw it away. There's a cruising feeling as a fan that we've not gotten to experience in a very long time. And I'm still hopeful we might get to experience that in the second half, because it's just a different kind of enjoyment of the season as it plays out.
I got to say, though, I don't know if that will even happen, because I don't think it'll happen no matter what, because getting the first or second seed is so critically important to me, in my opinion.
Well,
that
you just blew it up, man. I wasn't even thinking about that.
Yeah.
You're right. It's not going to happen. It's not going to
happen. And I mean, listen, unless like the Phillies and Mets are, end up with like an 88 win team and the Cubs are somehow like a 96 win team, right? Like something like that. But even in that scenario, like, it's not happening until mid-September,
second week of September. Yeah.
So yeah. But that would be nice, and that is the goal. And again, I genuinely think, I don't even think this is that crazy. Like, if they're in say the division is completely locked up, but there is still like a battle for the first or second seed for the Cubs to participate in, I think Craig Counsell needs to play those like playoff games, because you are eliminating 100%. Playoff games by winning. Like, it is literally the playoffs. You get to skip a whole series.
Yeah, you're taking a coin flip off the table. You're improving your odds by 50% in the postseason if you get
seriously. I want them to get the first or second seed, and they have a chance. Like, they are firmly in the race, but also the Brewers and Cardinals have started to nip at their heels. So we'll see. I don't know.
Sorry, if the Brewers and Cardinals end up mattering to the Cubs, then the top 2 seed thing probably doesn't matter, right? So it's going to be, we're either going to be enormous fans of the teams playing the Brewers. I still throw away the Cardinals. Sorry, I could be wrong, but big fans of the teams playing the Brewers come September, or big fans of the teams playing probably the Phillies, Mets. There's some other teams that could get into it if they get hot, and we do see things like that, but it kind of feels like the Dodgers have that number one locked away.
I mean, I don't know. They have so many injuries.
They aren't there, but
And the Giants and Padres, I'm guessing they still have to play them a bunch, are good, and they're not going to sell. So like whatever divisional games they have remaining, which again, it could be still, they could have played all of theirs already or something. I don't think so.
Yeah, the
But
schedule's weird.
they could have a tougher stretch. I'll have to look into that, but not yet, because that's just putting the cart before the horse.
Yeah. Okay, so bringing it back a little nearer term, I want to talk a bit about the Astros series and something specific that both you and I think have not. I don't know if I want to say we have strong opinions about portions of it, but not strong opinions about the whole thing. But it was a talking point this week, and I think each of us want to kind of put our stamp on the discourse and leave it there. So, of course, Cubs go to play the Astros for the first time since the Kyle Tucker trade, which featured Hayden Wesneski, who has since had Tommy John surgery, Isaac Paredes, who is doing exactly what we thought he would do with the Astros, which is just killing it offensively, particularly in this home ballpark, and Cam Smith going to the Astros. Cubs got Kyle Tucker. And I think there's two main things that are fair to say from my perspective about that trade, if you want to continue to belabor and discuss it. One is it was always good and laudable to want to target Kyle Tucker for even if only for a year. And he has met in performance just about everything you'd hope he could be, right?
Absolutely.
So purely focusing on that, no commentary about anything else in the trade changes the fact that it was an excellent and sage acquisition for the Cubs. Okay. Now, you set that aside and you say, okay, but it's still fair to look at what the Cubs gave up and think about, okay, did that price tag make sense? Does it look worse in the rear view? Does it look better? I just don't, some people get really pissed when you talk about that side of the trade. And I don't get it because I think it's completely fair game to, in particular, look at the decision the Astros made to put Cam Smith on their opening day roster. Now they moved him to right field. There was a lot of questions about whether he could stay in the infield in any case, but they moved him to right field where he's been solid defensively, at least by the metrics. And he has hit extremely well as a rookie, less than a year removed from the draft. It's a path that no other organization outside of perhaps the Angels was going to take. And I think it's pretty clear they probably thought that was a strong possibility when they selected him in this trade in the first place. And what you have to ask about scouting always is, how well did you know what you had? And did the right evaluation enter into those discussions? And you said, okay, we'll still trade him, even knowing we think he could, we also, the Cubs, think he could break out this year in the big leagues, but we just think it's worth it to trade.
For sure.
And
That's a good point.
I don't know for sure that the Cubs did know quite what they had in Cam Smith. And that's not even a criticism. It's just that's where the conversation starts. You know, like, did they fully appreciate what they had in Cam Smith, and could they have done something different?
Okay, so that is, I'm going to just kind of build the train of thought here. Here's another piece of this conversation. At the time of the trade, there is no one in the world that would have ranked Cam Smith ahead of Matt Shaw in terms of trade value. 0 people. So don't rewrite history. And I'm not even saying, the Cubs should have traded Matt Shaw instead. Matt Shaw might end up being a better player. Who knows? I don't know that. And that's not the point I'm making, but clearly there were other avenues on top of everything that you were saying. But I tweeted a point that you made and was just, extending it to saying, it's not that Kyle Tucker wasn't worth it, but you do wonder if they could have gotten it done another way. And I got a lot of replies from people, a lot of people I like Jacob Zanola is doing great stuff covering the Cubs on social media and writing. And I like it, but he said, got to give up talent to get good talent. And it's like, yeah, I know that's always true. So should we have given up every single play? Like the point is to discuss
there's a line
the degree of the talent that we're giving up. And again, I am even setting this all aside. I would remake that trade today because I love what Kyle Tucker is doing. Sure. I think the Cubs still have a chance to extend him despite what I think there's a real chance it happens. And I also think that this season is incredible. Almost like not solely because of Kyle Tucker, but largely because of Kyle Tucker. He is a critical piece, and I'm having a great summer because of it. This is the exact sort of aggressive mentality that we've been wanting Jed Hoyer to pursue. And if you're able to draft guys in the middle of a round and then immediately trade them as a centerpiece as part of a big, that's awesome. Great job. Good. But I still think it's fair to talk about. And I think this only gets worse, mind you, when in this present season for which this trade was geared around, right? We gave up future value to improve this season in particular. Matt Shaw now may have to be replaced midseason, which means we will be giving up, theoretically, some additional prospects for, let's say, a Eugenio Suarez, or, maybe that doesn't happen, but that's kind of one of the rumors going around right now. So you sort of are costing yourself again by making that wrong choice. And so it's not that they shouldn't have done it or that they shouldn't have traded value for it or any of those things. But it's like when people comment on our articles, like, who cares? It's like, we do. We talk about everything that happens around the Cubs all the time. That's literally what we do. So I don't know. I think it's a fair conversation to have. And as long as you're open to the nuance, it's a fun one too. It's like, let's play Monday morning GM, we could do that because it's what's allowed, and it's it's the 4th of July. This is America, and I get to say what my
can
piece
say what I want.
Okay, so anyway,
I
think that you got to really look at. I mean, Cam Smith is having just an excellent and crazy season, and the argument that he wouldn't be doing this in Chicago because he'd still be in the minors is like a fair point because it's accurate, and also an indictment of the front office doing it the incorrect way again. Like that's not a
that
good
would just mean they were
argument.
wrong.
Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I think it's fun to talk about. I think it's a fair conversation to have. And if we can't evaluate these things, then what's the point? Like, what are we doing? Like it's, I don't know. It seems reasonable to me to talk about.
And then final thoughts, and we'll leave it. One, I think it's important not to yada yada over this idea that Matt Shaw could wind up being significantly more valuable in the long term than Cam Smith, because that's both deeply plausible and deeply important to this conversation.
Yeah, it's like the whole point.
And so, we leave that open. By the same token, I see a lot of people saying, but Kyle Tucker's way better than Cam Smith, so who cares? Okay, but that's not what a trade is. Even if you ignored that there were other players in the trade, you're talking about 6 years pre-ARB and ARB of a player and the value that generates as compared to 1 ARB 3 year of a player. So that's a nonsense comparison from my perspective. So I often don't even know how to respond to that point because I'm like, you're asking me to compare two things that makes no sense to compare. That said, where I want to leave it is something Michael said almost in passing, but is important for people who are listening and yelling at us into their ears to hear. Even knowing everything we know today, right now, how this all played out, I still would have made that trade. Okay. So we're not saying anything to the contrary. We're just saying, hey, maybe there's a way to make it differently. Maybe there are processes that can be improved, things that can be learned. Maybe not. Maybe it's just stepping back. What?
I got a funny reality here. Okay. I'm just confirming. Oh gosh, this is so close. This is such a nonsense point, but I thought it might be true.
Doing.
So Cam Smith has been worth 1.7 WAR. Isaac Paredes 2.3 WAR, which is 4. Kyle Tucker worth 4 WAR. Matt Shaw 0.4. So the Cubs are winning the trade by 0.4 WAR this year. But this is not the future, obviously. But even if you just subbed everyone back into their positions and had them performing exactly, and you had, for some reason, you had Cam Smith playing right field instead of, say, Suzuki, and Matt Shaw was nowhere to be found, and Isaac Paredes is playing third, it's pretty close. But then you would have Matt Shaw as a trade chip to do something else with. It's just another version of how that could have played out. That's stupid.
No, it's funny because I was wondering that too, and I had a feeling it was probably pretty close. So last thing to leave it then is just that perhaps the main thing to look at this and maybe not learn from is the wrong word, but just be open-minded about is the pace at which a player can come out of the draft and contribute in the big leagues. The Angels were sort of have gotten a lot of heat's maybe the wrong word, circumspection about their approach to aggressively promoting guys out of the draft. And, but they've had mixed to positive results from doing it. And so now you've got the Astros doing it with Cam Smith and clearly getting a positive result. And I think that's interesting, at least to follow as a storyline with broader applicability beyond just this trade. Okay. So, I guess before we go into all-star stuff, I just want to say Daniel Palencia is a dude. It was very fun. His, engagement with the Cardinals and Wilson Contreras, particularly. So that's a moment that a young, sort of still establishing himself pitcher could have and be rattled rather easily, right? Because you have, it's not only a significant star player on the other team who's sort of, staring you down and making a moment tense and tight, but it also brought the tying run to the plate. There's nobody out. It was a big moment in that game, especially like we said earlier, the context of that series. It was a big moment. And what did Palencia do? Boom, boom, boom. Struck out the next three guys like it was nothing. Like he was clearly completely unfazed. And I'm not sure that would have been true of him last year or the year before. Craig Counsell recently said that the biggest development for Daniel Palencia was just his confidence this year, just his that he knows he belongs. And we saw it manifest in his first save opportunity this year. Remember what happened? He had that terrible, terrible mistake pitch that ended up losing that game against the Marlins. 2 days later, who's right back out there?
So close to doing it though.
And then he closes that one out like it was nothing. And then he's been on this run since then. 1.2 ERA or something since then. And obviously overpowering stuff. Like any pitcher.
It's not just the velocity though. I'm sure you watched the game live, but the clips that Pitching Ninja grabbed for his highlight of Palencia, the ride on that fastball it's one of those things that gives you the uncanny valley. You're like, that's not supposed to look like that. And at 101 and 102, that's even more incredible.
I want to say his induced vertical is like 15 inches, which for context, 18 or more inches. It's basically the amount you're resisting gravity with your spin. 18 is like really good. 20 is like obscene. I could have some of these numbers a little bit off here or there, but I believe he's around 14 or 15, which is very strong. And also he gets a lot of lateral movement for a pitch with that much ride. It's moving 10 to 12 inches laterally, which is a lot for a four-seamer with that much ride. And then again, you throw in the fact that it's 100, 101 miles per hour, and that's just a tough pitch to hit. If he's locating it in the upper third of the zone, you're not going to hit it. There's nothing you're going to do with it. And so I think like any pitcher, his second day of work consecutively, we saw it a bit last night. It's not quite as good. That's normal. We should expect that. I remember that was a bit of a thing with him the last couple of years, where that difference between day one and day two was pretty stark. Yeah. I haven't noticed it as starkly this year. We'll see as the season goes on, and that
probably a big deal in October.
Sure, you get breaks. You'll very rarely go back-to-back days in October. True. But the intensity is a whole other level, and to the length of the season is such that you're physically most depleted there in October. And so
he's still going to hit. He's going to hit 103 in October. For sure.
He's going to.
There's no way
you can see him like. But to that point, that's another reason why you'll see the Cubs involved in the late inning market at the trade deadline this year. All right, there we go. Addison. See, this is beautiful. Addison jumping in the chat just to let us know his average induced vertical is 15 and a half inches on the four seam this year, up from 14.9 last year. Great tidbit, Addison. So
that was a crazy great producer input there.
That was awesome. That was a great move.
Yeah,
great move.
Good stuff.
I do want to pat myself on the back though and say, I believe I said 15 to 16. Is that what I said? It's 15 and a half.
That was really good.
Yeah.
You're weirdly good at that.
So the numbers, when I'm estimating, they're pretty good. Okay. So last thing, and we'll transition in the game. All-star starters announced, positional, because the fans vote on position players. They don't vote on pitchers, which whatever. It's a fan contest, so I've never quite understood.
I never asked that question. It was like it's gotten too far. I'm too afraid to ask now because I don't know.
So I'm sure there's an obvious answer that we're spacing on, but
maybe it's because they don't want to force certain pitchers to pitch. So like if someone's
but they don't anyway. Yeah, they don't anyway. You know, pitchers sit it out all the time.
True.
So in any case, when we say, you know, so-and-so won the fan voting, it's always just position players. But the Cubs did get 2 this year, which is cool. First time in 6 years that they've gotten 2. Pete Crow-Armstrong and Kyle Tucker, of course, are 2 of the outfield starters. We'll see if the Cubs get some reserves. Is there anybody that you're in particular looking to say, okay, understanding that the more your team gets, the harder it is to get an additional player because every team has to have a rep and like it's who goes to what spot. So I actually don't get too snippy about the snub conversation because I understand you're trying to fit lots of pieces. But is there anybody that you're like, okay, but this guy is too good, has performed too well to be excluded no matter what?
I have like 2 perfect categories for this, I think, and I think Seiya Suzuki deserves to be there, but maybe won't. Shohei Ohtani exists, and there's even if he wasn't playing better than Suzuki, that he was going to be the starter at the All-Star game. It's
for sure.
I don't know. It just was going to happen
every year. He will. If he's in the voting, he will be.
Yeah, he will be. And so that's fine, but I do think Seiya Suzuki deserves it. I mean, 73 RBI. I know
leads baseball.
We are an advanced stats site in world that it's 73 RBI on July 2nd is awesome. That is incredible. And I mean, geez, that is impressive. As the DH, you could not be doing your job more. He's got 23 homers, leading the team, leading the league in RBI. I mean, it's
career best.
That's what
already.
That's what a DH does. He's doing a great job. So I think he probably deserves to be there. Maybe they'll add him in. I don't know. I think Carson Kelly, so he finished second, I want to say, in the fan voting.
He did.
Which, okay, a lot of that was based on what he did earlier on. But you know what? He's had like a pretty strong 2 weeks now, 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And so when you start thinking about that, it's like, well, he had a strong first 6 weeks and a strong last 2 weeks. It's like, oh, well, maybe he's just having a good season and there was a big slump in there. You know, like, and that's just kind of, so he maybe, I think he will be there and doesn't deserve it as much. And Seiya Suzuki won't be there and deserves it more. It's kind of like what I'm saying. And that's pretty much it. I mean, you could make a case for Nico. You can make a case for Michael Busch. I think Michael Busch would be a no-brainer if he was starting ever against lefties. But I think that maybe we just know that, you know, and maybe the league doesn't know that. But he doesn't play. He's platoon protected.
Doesn't play as many games. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think those are 2 guys. Yeah. You could make an argument for. Matthew Boyd is going to have an argument.
Oh, yeah,
it's
for sure.
Tough.
Matthew Boyd should have an argument.
It's tough for 2 reasons. One, because there's so much pitching talent in the NL right now, but also because the pitching side is where the manager who's selecting the players to be representatives for other teams that didn't get voted in. That's an infinite number of slots, or it's not literally infinite, but like there's no fan voting on pitching. So that's where he gets to pick those guys. And so it's hard. A lot of times pitchers who we feel like deserve it get snubbed. And if you're a non-closing reliever, forget it. You are, you know, doesn't matter.
The Cubs have a reliever with a 0.00 ERA.
Drew Pomerantz, literally no earned runs, 22.2 innings, I think now, but there's never a prayer. That could be, he could be at 40 innings. Maybe if you were at 40, it would be.
Listen, what a boring all-stars selection he would be. It's like all these guys coming in, like pumping gas. And it's like,
yes, boring in that respect. But what a story though, right? Because 4 years out of the league, that'd be pretty. I'd give him the first.
Maybe he'll win like comeback player of the year or something.
He should be. If he literally
finishes with a 0 run,
yeah, he'll win comeback player of the year.
Yeah.
I will lead.
If he finished with How
If he
long would it
finishes with
take
like
for you to
70
be like
innings,
like a MVP? But he won't get to 70. Is like
right.
if it's 50 and 0 earned runs, is that
I'll say if you don't include him in your top 5 in the Cy Young balloting, like if you don't have him 4 or 5, I'm going to say you're not a serious baseball writer. If he got to 50, 0 ERA, and you don't include him down the ballot, you're not a serious voter. Okay. I'll plant my flag on that right now. But yeah, if you got to like 100 innings of 0 ERA, you'd have to be some serious MVP consideration, right?
Oh, of course. There's relievers have gotten there with way fewer and some earned runs. I can't remember who it was, but like 7 years ago, it was like someone had like a 0.8. I want to say it was exactly 0.87 ERA for 70 innings, some reliever. And he had
saved 50 something games or whatever.
Exactly. And there's always, should the Cy Young, can it go to a reliever? Can the MVP go to a pitcher? It's like, whatever. Most valuable player. He wasn't valuable because their team didn't actually make the play. Shut up. It's just best player.
The real question is, can a Cy Young go to a position player?
Anthony Rizzo would have won it if they could.
I know. He was Drew Pomeranz. Anthony Rizzo crawled so Drew Pomeranz could run.
Wow. And I guess Shohei Ohtani exists.
Yeah. I was thinking more like PCA, some great throws from the outfield. They're like, you know what?
That's the best arm
you mean
in baseball. Got it.
I mean, I'm being silly, of course. But so, okay. I'm ready to transition to the game.
Yeah.
You are.
Okay. Just cracking my knuckles, getting ready to read. Felco, the home renewal experts, are the sponsor of this week's game. Bleacher Nation is proud to partner with Felco. For almost 50 years, Felco has been transforming Chicagoland homes with their windows, siding, doors, and roofing. Felco is family-owned and prides themselves on delighting their customers. With products made in the U.S. and designed specifically for the Midwest, Felco offers the perfect balance of beauty and energy efficiency. Thank you, Felco. Brett, what do you got for me?
I just want to note for the sponsor that my huge yawn right there while Michael was reading was neither in response to the great information included in the ad read nor Michael's reading of it. So Addison, if you just want to go to black on that, on my side on that part. Okay. Game's real simple this week. That isn't to say it's easy. If you make any mistakes, that's fine, but it's real simple because we had, 2 Cubs voted in as all-star starters. And I start hearing those like, first time since 2019, first time 2 outfielders. But the thing that immediately came to mind was how ridiculous 2016 was for the Cubs in terms of the All-Star game. And immediate thing that popped into my head is, okay, I know they had a bunch of All-Stars that year, but could I name all of them with no mistakes? Like, would I nail it? And then I realized, wait, that's a good game for this Thursday. So that's it. So you folks listening, you can just immediately be like rattling those off, but let's see if Michael can get, I'm not going to say how many.
You're not telling me how many.
I'm not telling you how many.
That was going to make it easier on me.
I will if need be. I have some ideas for assists.
The reason this is even like moderately challenging, is some of the guys that I know did or didn't make it in 16 were all-stars in the ensuing seasons. For example, I'm actually certain Wilson Contreras was not. I'm pretty much positive that Javi Baez was not either that year.
You're already 2 for 2 in terms of eliminating obvious candidates.
Yeah. Okay. So let's do some of the easy ones first. Chris Bryant was an all-star in 2016.
Check.
Anthony Rizzo was
MVP
an all-star in
2016.
Yeah, right.
Check.
Anthony Rizzo was as well. Okay, so that's 2 that I'm certain of. The question was Addison Russell there that year? I'm trying to just go around the infield, and I believe Addison Russell was an all-star in shortstop's hard. It is. Yep. Okay, that's 3.
Yep. He was the shortstop. Yep.
I'm not final answering this. I'm just thinking out loud so it's not boring podcast listening. Ben Zobrist at second base, like maybe, but I don't know for sure. So I'm going to put a pin in that and come back to behind the plate. Miguel Montero, was he there? I don't think it would have been David Ross as a backup. Montero was having a great season. Really quick, hold on. Left field was not Schwarber because he wasn't there. So it would have been like Jorge Soler. center field Fowler, and right fielder was Hayward, who was definitely not an all-star. Fowler, I'm going to guess, was not an all-star. Left field, no all-star. So I'm going to say my next guess to the list is Miguel Montero.
No Miggy.
Brutal.
I'm going to give you a hint just because you were like so close to landing on it for this. Part of what was crazy for the Cubs in the All-Star game that year is they had the entire infield, not catcher, but they had the rest of the entire infield. So now you know who was at second base was
Ben Zobrist.
You said it. It was Ben Zobrist.
Yeah. Okay. So that was going to be, that makes sense. So yeah, that I remember that now too. So it was Bryant, Russell, Zobrist, Rizzo. Any pitchers?
I was just going to say, so there's one more position player and two pitchers.
Oh, one more position, but there's no, it could not have been Hayward. And I just
comes with an asterisk too. So you have a defense on this one for missing on it.
Let me think about it for 1 second, because this is actually, you're saying there's another position player and it comes with an asterisk. Like, did he get traded or hurt and missed it, or was originally selected and then they moved him out? Oh boy.
It is
any other clue?
Yes to one of those. It is yes to one of those things. and it's not a complex one either. It's the simplest of those possibilities that you just mentioned.
That boy, there was no DH. So I mean, have I put his name in the?
Yes, let me say this. He was an all-star, but did not play in the all-star game.
Boy,
keep in mind, fan vote.
I mean, there's no, Wilson didn't even come up yet. So in time,
he had only been up for like a month or two.
Yeah. I mean, like, people love Dexter Fowler, but I don't think he was an all-star. Was he? Was he? Was it him?
It was really? Dex. Yeah. He was voted an outfield starter.
I mean,
could not play due to injury.
Dexter Fowler, but he didn't feel, that felt like a really good year, great leadoff guy, but like, he was the all-star center fielder.
You have to keep in mind, he was great in 2015 with the Cubs. And so there was a lot of goodwill spillover. And of course, the spring training return. He was just extra beloved at that particular moment in time. So yeah,
and then
Fowler,
one pitcher,
and then the infield, two pitchers.
Don't
overthink this one.
Yeah, Arrieta and Lester.
You got it.
Yeah, and I bet you Kyle Hendricks. Yeah, he did deserve. 2016, he was the ERA leader, I want to say, in all of
Hendricks,
baseball.
If it were the full season, I think it got hotter and hotter as the year went on.
Yeah. Because I remember that
he had a better year than Arrieta did.
Yeah. Lester was the opening day starter in 15, but Arrieta had the better season. In 2016, Arrieta was the opening day starter. Lester had the better season, but Hendricks had the best of all of them in theory.
Yes.
I remember that pretty clearly. So yeah, that's pretty good. Lester and Arrieta were easy guesses. Brian and Rizzo were easy guesses. Like, I could have rattled through those. So it was really down to whether or not Russell, Zobrist, and Fowler were the guys, and I guess all of them were. That's a lot. So that's 4, 5, 7. I think they had 8 in 2008.
Now that I would not be. I could name one for sure, but I'd have to step back and really think.
Yeah,
you're gonna look live.
It's probably not going to be fast enough. Oh
no.
2008 was Ryan Dempster, Ramos Ramirez, Carlos Zambrano, Giovanni Soto, and Carlos Marmol. No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Madison says 8.
And yeah, I think
8 and 08.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Who am I missing from this list?
I mean, that 08 team was a monster in the regular season.
Yeah.
As pitcher, like Ted Lilly, was he on one that year?
Probably. He's just really good at slamming his glove on the ground. That's seared into my brain.
Yeah, that was. My only lament is that it was like slightly before gifts.
Oh wait,
like
was that 2007
resolution? I think that was 7, but it didn't matter.
2008 ended with Soriano swinging.
Well, it was the Dodgers, and both of them were the same. It's 3 games and out. So I mentally think of them as the same tale. And then it all fell off in 2009. It was the Milton Bradley year, and really things really took a turn. And they wouldn't come back fully until the peak of the rebuild, which it was 2016. See, there was a plan for all this. It was all. I forgot about Giovanni Soto.
So Addison has them. It was Dempster, Marmol, Soriano, Woods, Zambrano, Kerry Wood, really, Ramirez, Fukudome, and Giovanni Soto. I knew there was 8 in 08. See, I got stuff. I got numbers.
Maybe we will. Hey, maybe we will see a huge number of Cubs All-Stars again sometime in the near future.
I bet you a lot of those guys won fan voting too.
Yeah, well,
actually, was there even fan voting? Was it by mail back then? How did you guys used to do it in the 70s?
You used the Morse code system. You'd have to have a telegraph. And no, I said not da. Oh my gosh, they got it wrong.
This is quality radio.
This is this is the BN Cubs podcast. I am Brett Taylor. That's Michael Cerami. We like to talk Cubs and fireworks and ancient recording devices and communication methods here weekly for you on Thursdays, thanks to our sponsors at Ankin Law, 312-6 million, injury law made personal. And I hope you do seriously have a safe, happy, healthy 4th. Enjoy some food, enjoy some fireworks, enjoy some fun and friends and family. And we will enjoy some Cubs in the meantime and be back to talk about them next week with you. Take care.